Twitter was destroying American democracy. Our government was paying to censor the jokes of Americans on Twitter. Politicians who got the most donations from big tech got the most censorship tools on Twitter. And the mainstream media was in coordination to censor Americans on Twitter. This was all a scary reality at Twitter and potentially still is a reality at many media platforms throughout America today, as the Twitter files released by Elon Musk have shown us. In this video, I'll catch you up with 3 of the most damning pieces of evidence of censorship against Americans, though it's certainly not all of it. And I'll leave you with one big warning. So if you haven't caught up at all with any of the Twitter files, don't worry, I'm going to keep it simple for you. Let's just keep everything to 3 simple examples, and then I'll leave you with the big warning. Now, in the meantime, remember, I'm Meet Kevin, and the only sponsor on this channel are the programs on building your wealth linked down below. We've got a holidays coupon code down there, and I would encourage you to check it out, where you get lifetime access to the programs on building your wealth and lifetime access to those live streams for however long I do them when the market is open every day. Now, some of these things may have seemed obvious, like we should have known they were going on anyway, but when we saw them in black and white, we definitely felt a little bit more concerned, especially when we saw messages like this. More from the Biden team, and then links to tweets from individuals that needed to be censored, and a simple response from Twitter saying, "Handled these." This is really concerning, especially when we associate it with the fact that how not only was the system not balanced, but it was staffed by individuals of one political orientation. And because there were more individuals, there were more people willing to answer their emails and help censor individuals of the opposite party. Especially when over 96% of donations between 2018 and 2022 for each election cycle were not going to 50% Republicans and Democrats, a fair and balanced amount from Twitter. No, they were going over 96% of the time to Democrats. But that's the more obvious disaster. Something that's less obvious is that there were actually emails of folks within Twitter bragging about collecting $3.4 million from the FBI since October of 2019 for helping the FBI in processing their requests. And the FBI's requests were things like, hey, here are some tweets with election misinformation. Would you mind seeing if these happen to violate any of your rules? Here's an example of one such tweet. Yes, a tweet with 6 comments, 3 retweets, 25 likes, by somebody named Clowns to the left, Jokers to the right, and the individual says, I want to remind Republicans to vote tomorrow, Wednesday, November 9th. It's obviously a joke, because the election's on Tuesday. But apparently, this was so severe that the FBI needed to step in, make a request to Twitter, and then was willing to reimburse Twitter for processing efforts to censor people's tweets. That is damning piece number 2. Damning piece number 3 is that we knew the FBI was aware that Rudy Giuliani now had access to the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop. Why? Because the FBI was surveilling Rudy Giuliani. And the FBI realized through their surveillance, even though they ended up dropping charges against him, that, oh no, he's going to the New York Post with this story. Well, maybe we can poison the well and make sure this story doesn't spread through social media by maybe planting the seed that maybe one day in the future, if there were ever a fake story about a hack and leak operation that led to some incriminating information coming out about Hunter Biden, which then Donald Trump could potentially then tweet about and talk about how, is Joe Biden, a criminal? Well, maybe we should poison the well by putting together a September 2020 exercise. And we'll call that exercise the Burisma leak exercise. Okay, now I want to be very clear. All of the information, the 3 pieces of this video so far are coming from the Twitter files, okay? So if somebody is misleading us with the information we're getting over there, then this information could be wrong. But assuming the Twitter files are accurate in terms of what we're getting, with that assumption made, this is pretty shocking that the FBI would work in coordination with the New York Times, NBC, Twitter, groups at Facebook, and other organizations to create a potential scenario where, oh no, there's some information that has been leaked that links Burisma to Hunter Biden, and therefore it looks like Joe Biden betrayed America. But the good news is we know this is fake news, so we're all going to come out with a coordinated effort, right, and make sure that everybody knows this is fake news, because that's what we're going to do. And in this exercise, what essentially the FBI was doing was manipulating Twitter and social media staff to suggest, hey, we know this Hunter Biden story is going to drop, and when it does, we want you to censor it, but we're not going to bluntly tell you that. Instead, we're going to kind of roundabout pretend we're going to do this hack and leak exercise and make you realize yourself that you should censor it. And sure enough, Twitter ended up doing it, and so did the mainstream media, and so did Facebook. And the FBI reimbursed at least Twitter, probably other social media organizations, maybe even the media organizations, for their time and involvement in these sorts of exercises. Presumably, if the FBI is reimbursing Twitter for their time processing their censorship requests, then is it not possible that the FBI also reimbursed Twitter for their time on this Burisma exercise? And then is it possible that the FBI is reimbursing news organizations for their time listening to their Burisma exercises to poison the well of a real story that ended up coming out, but that the FBI apparently didn't want circulating? Folks, no matter how you slice it, this is a scary, scary reality. And there is a huge and critical warning that we all have to take to heart. Elon Musk needs to succeed at Twitter because democracy is ultimately at risk. Free speech has to win. And if Elon Musk fails at Twitter because he can't find another CEO to take over, or he can't handle it himself, or the company goes bankrupt because advertisers flee because Elon's opining, or whatever people want to say about Elon, it doesn't matter. If Elon fails and Twitter goes bankrupt, we will lose a massive source of free speech in America. But not only will we lose a massive source of free speech in America, but we will prove that if you expose free speech violations, if you expose censorship, you'll go broke. That is the opposite of what you usually hear. You usually hear on the internet things like go woke, go broke. But what if it turns out go free speech, go broke? And we could link that to Twitter. That if Twitter fails and a free speech experiment goes completely kaput and bankrupt and the richest man or previously richest man in the world was not able to provide free speech, then who's to say we're ever actually going to have free speech to where the FBI isn't involved in paying media platforms to curtail what they want the public to see or think or view? That's really scary. And that's why it is utmost important that Elon Musk succeed. And I encourage you, whether or not you like or dislike Elon Musk, if you support free speech, I encourage you to wish the best for Twitter and engage on Twitter. I'm not an investor in Twitter. I have no financial tie to Twitter. I do have financial ties to Tesla in full fairness. You know, if Twitter succeeds, then Tesla could do better. I suppose that could be a little bit of bias on the table, okay? But aside from that, from somebody who ran for governor in California and got almost 1 million votes, somebody who believes that I was censored and believes in free speech, I hate to say it, but if Elon fails, if Elon can't do it, it proves that the shadiness is the way to continue. And that really scares me.